Good evening to everyone out there. This is your host, Leslie Mitchell Clark, and I am joined as always by my co-host and the producer of Contact, Mr. Wes Roberts. And we are thrilled to welcome you to another episode of our show. And we certainly are very excited tonight because our guest is a returning guest. He is a exopolitician, a ufologist, a videographer, an experiencer, and he is also, I believe, the founder and very involved with the C5 organization based in Perth, Australia. And I'm talking about our guest, Robert Mason. And he's going to be speaking with us in just a few moments. He has a new book coming out. We're very excited. And I should mention, folks, that you are listening now to a pre-recorded show. Our apologies, but as you may know, Perth is 13 hours ahead of East Coast time, and this is the only way that we can bring you a interview with Robert Mason is to pre-record. So that's what's going on. So, Wes, good evening to you. How are you doing on this fine, almost winter day?
Good evening, Leslie. Yeah, it is getting a lot more like winter here. I'm talking to one of my friends recently who's not in Perth, but is closer to Brisbane. And she's telling me what the weather is like there. And it's like, okay, I need some of that. So I'm doing fine. Yeah. We just finished school for the semester, and I'm in exam marking mode.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, no tendinitis this year, please. Anyway, yeah, I imagine they're all surfing down in Oz right now. I'm just a little jealous, but we'll try to get over it. We'll try to get over it. Anyway, a big shout out to our sponsors, because without our sponsors, there would be no Contact Radio. We're now in our fourth smash year. So we absolutely would love to thank the Euphoria organization and their fearless leader, James Borg, and all the wonderful members, Carl Dory, Loretta, Charlie Connellini, of course, and Greg Summer, all the great members of Euphoria. Thank you so much for your tireless support. We would like to thank Origo Books, O-R-I-G-O Books.com, marvelous metaphysical bookstore. And we would like to thank Patrick White of ConspiracyCulture.com. And not only is Conspiracy Culture a wonderful bookstore, but Patrick White curates one of the most important and illuminating chat series of ufologists and metaphysicians and other things. He produced the Coast to Coast show here in Toronto. So, Patrick White, thank you so much for your endless support. We would like to thank Variety Store Productions. That's headed up by Mr. Greg Summer, and that is a full-service production house. Whether you want to put together a commercial or whatever you have in mind, he can handle it. That is VarietyStoreProductions.com. We'd like to thank Enchanted Reveries Jewelry, beautiful metaphysically inspired jewelry with magical overtones. And right now they're having a very special on earrings, perfect gift for Christmas. So that's enchantedreveries.etsy.com. And I have a lot of these great earrings myself, folks. I got to tell you, they're beautiful. So I think, is that about it? Oh, we also want to thank, and this is also kind of an announcement, we want to thank Mr. Len Such and the MUFON group from Brantford, Ontario. And we would also like to thank the Alien Cosmic Expo, which is going to be a fantastic event for 3 days, headed up by MUFON. And we have an amazing array of guests coming. We have Stanton Friedman coming. We have Len Kasten. We have Jason Martell, Serge Grambois. Anyway, I'm very honored because I have been asked to actually MC this wonderful event. So we hope to see some of you there, many of you there. So that is going to be the Alien Cosmic Expo. And the dates, I believe, are June 27th, 28th, and 29th. So there we go, I think. And you wanted to shout out, Wes,
Yes.
to a couple of friends out there?
Yeah, so ditto on everything you just said, Leslie. Really looking forward to the conference next year because I'll be there too. We're
Yes.
giving a 2-hour presentation, and so we'll be amassing material between then and now. So shout out to Sahelu in California.
Of
A
course.
shout out to Alexandra in near Brisbane, and a shout out to who I hope to be a new listener and a wonderful friend of mine, Anna in Spain.
Bienvenue, Anna. Bienvenue à Contact Radio. Okay.
Okay.
So there you go. And I must say a big shout out to my friend Kathleen Fisher, who has a birthday, and also my dear friend Claudia Davis, who is in Alaska, who just became a grandmother for the second time. That's astonishing when one's contemporaries become grandparents. But I guess it's just because I got such a late start. I'm still working on the first crop here. They're not finished yet.
Well, grandparents are very special, as you'll one day find out.
Yes, I hope so. I hope I live long enough to be a grandparent. Anyway, we are thrilled because we have Robert Mason here, and he is going to continue telling us about his life and his experiences, and we're just so fascinated to welcome him. And I believe he's with us now, direct from Perth. Robert, good evening.
Yeah, how are you, Leslie?
I'm very well, and I must thank you so much for joining us. I know it's very early in the morning. I hope you had a nice big, as we say, a nice big cup of joe to get your day started.
Yeah, it's not too early here. It's actually quite nice.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, nice and warm outside, yep.
I know, we're jealous. We're jealous. I tell you, we're just going to have to come visit you one of these days. That's all there is for it.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Yeah. All right. So, Robert, I'm just going to let you, really just pick up,
Yep.
where you left off as you see fit. We're just let fly, and we're fascinated to hear everything you have to tell us.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. And also, I just want to say hello to Wes.
Hey, Robert, very good to speak to you, and I know you've got a treat for us later when you're going to talk about your upcoming book. So
Yeah,
we
right.
look forward to that in this show.
All right, thanks. Yeah, well, firstly, if you listen to my last show, I failed to mention one thing, and that was when I was the age of 19, I got received massive head injuries and was in a coma for 11 nights. But yeah, it may not seem like much now, but later on it does play quite a pivotal part in my story. And
Wow.
yeah, and I'm sorry if my last interview seemed a little bit depressing as well, but I didn't intend it to be like that. It's always about hope. I'm always trying to give people hope, find hope, So yeah,
Absolutely. In fact, I think sharing your experiences, Robert, honestly and openly, really gave a lot of support to
Yep.
people who are going through stuff. So we appreciate your honesty. I thought that was wonderful.
yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you, Leslie. But yeah, so we'll go back to we'll kick off where we left off.
Yes.
So yeah, after seeing what happened and making the contact as I did, my mind was blown. I was feeling amazing, and yeah, and like well, but going to work or continuing on with my life was the last thing on my mind. And I was with my boss at that time, and both of us didn't go to work for about, I would say, almost. Well, myself, I haven't been back to work, and he had almost 2 years off work because of what happened. But yeah. So
Let's take your time, Robert.
Yep.
Start at the beginning.
It's
I'm
okay.
just trying to remember where I finished off last time. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so after that happened, me and my boss were leaving the situation in the car, and like my minds were racing, and I'll never forget, we're driving down Tonkin Highway, which is a pretty dark. It's a pretty big highway, but it's dark, and there's like a lot of properties and blocks of land and farms, and all the fencing along there, because I've lived around here all my life and drove up and down this road hundreds of, if not thousands of times. And yeah, there's all these rusty old like fences out there which divide each person's block of land. But I'll never forget, like that night after what had happened, and me and Darbs decided not to carry on going to the cash job that night, and just go back home and see what footage we had accumulated, because the craft had taken off, the 3 craft had gone.
Yes.
I was looking out the window, and I'll never forget it. One of these rusty old fences was lit up like more than a Christmas tree, of all these colours, like colours that I don't even think I've ever seen before. And it was trying to show me something, because it was like moving in sequence, like going in like blocks, in like perfectly sized shapes of sequence, but different colours. But some of these things are hard for me to find words to explain. But but what I think it to be was like they were showing me, like they were trying to say, like, look, because what it was like an arrow. If you were to think of it as like a flashing arrow or a flashing beacon, it was pointing towards the hills that surround Perth. Yeah, and so this was just like 20 minutes after what had happened, and I'll never forget it. And I was like, that, and I remember thinking to myself, that's odd. I've never seen that before. And straight away I thought that's these extraterrestrials messing with that. And I had this overwhelming feeling in myself, and that I should go back out and look for them, and maybe try go out to up into the hills and see if because after what had happened, it was obvious I'd made connection with these things, and it was very personal contact. It wasn't like where you'd watch footage of someone filming marvelous craft flying through the sky and doing maneuvers, then just taking off. These things were like, to this day, I still don't know why, they were showing extreme interest in myself. I was not going to let that be the end of it, you know. And the good feelings that they'd given me, and like how happy and how amazing I felt, I didn't want it just to end there as well. I just didn't want that to be the end and never see him again. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And so straight away I was like just outside. The next night I was outside, just all I did was just looked up at the sky, just looked up at the stars, just thinking to myself, and inside my mind just going, that can't be it. They've got to come back. What's going on? And like almost instantly, straight away, all these like shooting stars, and like, you know, a lot of the craft that you see when you do your CE5 thing, all this started happening straight away, the very next night. And instantly I thought, yeah, that's obviously them. It's connected to that, because I referred to watching the Disclosure Project in my last interview with Dr. Stephen Greer, but up until that point, I had not even, because I'd only watched the Disclosure Project, I didn't even know anything about his CE5 works or anything to do about that. And then so what's happened is, with me just thinking, it sounds odd, but I honestly did not know about that. And so I was like going out every night, taking friends out, telling people what was going on, looking for them, and then like seeing what was going on. And then it wasn't until later I looked on the computer, and then I seen that Dr. Greer was doing these things called the CE5 groups, and I looked into it more and more. So he's helped me a few times in that sense. So yeah, it was but 2 nights, so I got a couple of friends together and told them what had gone on, and we'd been watching my footage from what had happened. And some people obviously a lot of people didn't want to believe me, but also because of my history and who I have been in the past, and I haven't just been someone that just makes up stories or is a practical jokester or anything like that. I'm a pretty level-headed, serious person. You know, I like to have fun and stuff, but I'm pretty sensible minded, you know. So for me to all of a sudden just be completely on the other end of the scale, telling people about some spaceship that I'd seen just meters away from my face, it was like it was a lot for a lot of people to take in. So so I didn't have my driver's license, even did my friend at the time, and he was saying how he'd met this lady, and she knew quite a lot about this spiritual stuff and all this other stuff, and she'd heard about what had happened 2 nights before with my contact, and me and my friend said to her, "Oh, we want to go out and try and see if we can find these things," and she agreed to drive us out and to look for them. And we went back down Tonkin Highway. We went to all the places where everything happened the 2 nights before, and it was me, my friend Kimbo, and my now good friend Donna, driving around. And my boss from 2 nights before, he didn't really, after what happened that night, it didn't bother him, you know, it didn't concern him too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not sure. It's strange. Sometimes I also think that Darbs had to be there that night to play that part, because it was just he played his part perfectly as well, because it made me do things and act in certain ways, which
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure I'm sure that's probably true, and I know that Wes would concur that sometimes in his experiences there has been an innocent bystander that just played that kind of a role like Dobbs did.
yeah, yeah. And even just maybe him getting me like aggravated a little bit was like I've said it a few times, it was increasing like the emotional energy inside of myself, which I was, because like I said last time, they were in the sky at first making shapes, and when we pulled over, and that's when I tried to do everything I could to get their attention, and something worked, and yeah, and that's the same technique I use now when I do my C5 works. But yeah, so I'll tell you what happened with 2 nights later. So very excitedly, me and my friend and Donna were out looking for this craft, and then just near the airport there's a rock quarry, and it's got quite a lot of security there and stuff, and it's not a place where you can just drive into the facility and do what you want. But it was strange at night. We just seemed just to drive right past the gates and then drive up there and drive around back behind where everyone was working. We got pretty high up into the top of the hill, and something was like, and because I had seen that flashing fence like trying to show me to go back up to the high ground, and because of the craft, what had happened,
Yes.
yeah, I was overwhelmed. So like, and I look back in hindsight, and I think to myself, how much did I even have any really control over myself and my thoughts and my actions at that point? Because yeah, I'm not even sure. It's, do you know what I mean when I say that? It's like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's like I was guided up there, or without really even knowing it. Anyway, so I've got out the car and I've looked at this mound, and I just, for some reason, something in my mind was just like, run to the top of that hill, run to the very top of there, and because I was still just so happy that I made full contact with extraterrestrials, and they were fully aware and had made contact with me. So I was like a little kid, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go run up to the top of this hill and jump up and down, and it's almost like scream their name out and demand for them to appear. And so as I'm running up to this hill, Donna and Kimbo were getting out the car thinking, what's Rob doing, bloody running off up the hill? And like, I've questioned Donna about it a few times. She thought it'd be funny getting a picture of me being silly, like up to the top of the hill, and could show
Yeah.
people, and like, oh look, Rob's up the bloody hill being silly. And so what she's done is she's got her phone camera out, not a phone camera, sorry, a digital camera, and she's which she had brought with the intentions of, if we had seen these things again, to get some footage. She's pulled it out and then taken a photo. At that point, I'm at the. I'll tell her side of the story, then I'll tell you what happened to me in this point.
Okay.
Yep, and then like she said, she took both times with the camera, which I still have in my possession, and this camera cannot receive photos or photo files. It can only take photos, and then photos can be extracted from this camera. So I can give this to scientists, and they can look at it and see that these photos were actually taken on the camera as we claim to be,
Yes. Yes.
Yep. And so bang, with the flash, he's taken the first. Not even really, just like sort of being silly, because we'd been driving around for about 2 hours at that point and not had seen him, and our my two friends, their morale was dropping, but I was still, because nothing was really bothering me if I'd even see the UFOs really ever again because of what had happened. I didn't really even need to see them ever again. So anything I thought beyond that was just going to be great. It was just going to be great, And,
Yes,
and
of
would just
course.
help me reinsure that what had happened actually did happen. And so she's taken the photo, and then in that moment, she's looked at the camera and then just not seen me in the photo and gone, oh, that's odd. And then not even really bothered to look past her hands and past the camera, just looked at this camera again, and then bang, taken another flash of the camera, taken another picture. And then like, it was because it was quite dark out there on top of the hill. The flashes from this camera were quite bright. Bang, the second flash, and that's when you see that I am in the picture again. Both pictures
Yes.
being highly, both pictures not being distorted or what's the word? distorted or affected, like almost in perfect, both pictures in good high definition quality, but just the
Right.
simple fact that I'm not in one of the pictures, and you can clearly see all these orbs, and if you look at the actual photo, if you get the camera, take the actual photos off of the camera and look at it properly, like I'm sure Wes could with his computer skills, and you look at each one of these orbs, they got like these faces, and like I would love for people to look at it like these. Some of them are quite scary looking, even like some faces that you would see on like old ancient South American Aztec temples of like their old,
Yes.
things
Yeah.
like that, and it really is there on there, and it spins me out. But
Now I saw these, Robert. This series of photos.
yeah, there was
If I'm
two.
not mistaken, you put up on your
Yep,
wonderful Facebook
yep,
page, and I was able to see,
yep,
even to my naked eye,
yep,
just in some of these
yep,
images
yep,
inside the orbs. Now,
yep,
do you
yep,
think, if I could just ask about your feelings about this, did you
yep.
feel that there were personalities in these orbs? Did this feel like it was part of the ET experience, or that the orbs were perhaps a separate part of some other metaphysical phenomena?
Um, well, that's a good question because the two nights before, all this was going on, and then I was when that moment where my mind's clicked and was going, these are actually um, interstellar spacecraft or whatever you want to call them. That moment is like just everything became. I'll use the word murky, but like thick almost. Like everything was still the same, but when you think back on my memories, it was like even the air became thicker. It was just weird. It was like highly strange. Like maybe these things, like I said before, maybe they were in my mind, and I'm sure I'm sure. And when I've spoke to Darbs about this as well, it's funny because he looks back and thinks about it, and his memories are murky on it as well
Ah,
for much of the night. Do you know what I mean?
yes, I
And
do.
yeah, and then there was a time where I would watch my footage and go, I don't remember any of this the footage that we've got. I don't remember any of that happening like that. And then would like watch for a long time, even to this day. Sometimes I'll rewatch my footage on a better screen or more high definition, and I'll find a new little bit of UFO footage or something in it that I hadn't seen before. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's played out to be like it's been great. It's given my life so much meaning, and I've had this like this Pandora, I don't know what you'd call it, but like this a puzzle or something that I've been able to unfold and look into.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
I think
but
doing
with the
what
question, sorry,
you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I think it's
yeah,
a calling that you have. And can I ask you,
yeah,
Robert, and
uh,
have you ever worked with anyone like myself, a hypnotherapist, to possibly try to recover uh, some aspects of this experience, the
um,
missing time?
I've thought about it, and people have said it to me, and at first I thought, nah, if it's not broken, why don't fix it? And even to this moment, I could still think that, like, because I call the extraterrestrials my old mates because well, I'm going to go into the relationship that I've formed with them, and
Yes.
what it actually means to me now. And I wouldn't want to jeopardize that, but I'm sure it wouldn't. And I would be more than willing if it was a good like yourself. I would be more than willing. I'd be extremely excited to be put on hypnotherapy. But you watch silly movies like that Fourth Contact. What is it called, the Fourth Kind and stuff like that. And yeah, I just at the time that when I watched that movie, that put me off the idea of it because my relationship with my old mates is fine. It's
Yeah.
not broken in any way. But back to your question about the orbs in the photo,
Yes.
yeah, and about everything becoming murky and like that. And I think that the show Ancient Aliens, I think they are really close to having the money on the head with just the whole situation. I think um, these things like I couldn't like these things their technology or whatever it is like magic, and like to this day I say to people, it's like if I had to really give you an honest my opinion on what it was God. It would look like what you would call something God or an angel or just not technology. It was like magic, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then up until that point, I didn't even believe in God. You know, my religion was Star Wars, and I yeah, it was, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and now to this, I sit here right now and speak to you, and I pray all the time now, and it's this whole thing has changed me in so many ways, and why. It's and because after what happened, it's like you look for answers. You can't just ring up you can't just ring up a hotline and say, oh, this has happened or this has happened. You can't ring up and tell anyone. I couldn't even ring up and be taken seriously by the bloody police. I've got all this evidence and footage and witnesses of it, and just people just don't even reply or just, you know what I mean. And as a young man, I was like, I was just wanted just was angered by that there was nowhere really to go and
Yeah.
and just to like even talk about this type of stuff. But yeah, but back to your question about the orbs in the photo. Yeah, and I think that and what I was saying about the ancient alien theories and the gods and stuff, it's something to do with like what the spiritual realm, the spiritual reality of things.
Yeah.
But I'm not complete. Obviously, I don't completely know. But them orbs, and because if there's two actual orbs, not ones that I really make much note of in my footage or what I have done in the past on Facebook, but if I was to show you one day in person and show you, there's these two that are there, and one of them is very clearly like a fire representation of some spiritual force, and the other one is very clearly a water one. And I think what it is, and I think that like they might look scary to us or whatever, but like more like mischievous, mischievous instead of being evil. I'm not sure.
Yes.
But
Well, I'm sure you didn't feel any, you didn't feel any evil. I know from talking to you previously, what you were feeling was
Yep.
really fascinating.
Right.
And do you think in the area where this happened, Robert,
Yep.
would this have been an area that had been sort of sensitized maybe by the Aboriginal peoples, that perhaps they had lived on the land and had a relationship with either the ancient aliens or with earth spirits or what have you? Because in Canada, just like yourselves, we have most of our land was resided on for thousands upon thousands of years by native North Americans, and some of these areas are very sensitized by their presence, and we have high incidences of sightings in any area where there is still, much to our shame, a reserve.
Yep. And I think that you could be spot on the money there as well. You know how like the bankers of the world, or the oil people that own the petrol stations,
Yes.
that lead us. But in Australia, it's a little bit different. We got mines over here, and it's like the people that own the mining company bosses
Yes.
are the ones that call the shots. And it's
Yes.
funny because that where that happened, and I said there's a rock quarry there. What they've done, and to this moment, and all the hysteria before 2012, because they've been under in these mountains. Well, not mountains, sorry, in our hill range for a while there. You can hear them making tunnels under there, or doing something deep in these tunnels, and you see sections of the hills they've completely destroyed, like just gone, like, and it's only they've only been mining it heavily for, I'd say, not even 10 years, but yeah. So and you probably are correct and about what you said about that, but like I said, up until that point, that's just what happened with Donna, and Donna taking the photos, and that's the evidence of what happened. And this is the best bit for myself, is I'll tell you what happened, like what happened in my mind and what happened to me in them moments. So
Yes.
yeah, so and I'll just say this quickly as well, like I don't consider myself to be a photogenic person or take selfies and stuff like that. And I get annoyed at people if they take surprise photos of me. And I don't like people just taking pictures of me and whatever. So anyway, I'm running up this little mound on top of this hill, and I had no idea that what Donna and Kimbo was doing. In my mind, if I was to tell you the actual truth, was I was running at the top of this hill and I was waiting for the UFOs for 2 nights before to come fly down and grab me, and I was just going to take off. I was just going to fly away because I didn't really have, I didn't have any dramas with leaving the planet at that point in time and doing something like that. You know what I mean? And it might sound silly, but that's honest. If I was being truthfully honest, that's what was
No,
going.
I understand. I
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah, it's gone through my mind, and even at the very point where the thing, I felt the thing grab me and pull me up. even up until that very point of it happening, it was like I was visualizing in my mind. It's like, yeah, and I was visualizing the craft fly over the hill and then grabbing me. And then as I was visualizing it grabbing me, bang! It felt like I got swooped by like a magpie, or like a pretty large angry bird that we have here in Australia.
I know what they are.
Yeah. They it's like starting with touching it on my shoulder, then like up can't think of the name of it, but like up over my shoulder to the bottom of my neck, and then back of my head, and then like, but not with great force, but with enough force that obviously something had touched me, but really quick as well. But and like I said, like being swooped, and it was like, whew. But at that point when that happened, for some reason, everything like the world, reality, everything just went black and white, and there was a light directly right. It's hard to explain because in this moment when this happens, like things like sound or heat or feeling stuff just doesn't really seem it's like relevant at that point in time. Just whatever the memory is you have of whatever happened is what you've got. You know what I mean? Left of that. But but anyway, so I'm on the top of the hill and I visualize this craft flying over and grab me, and in that instant, bang! First thing that comes to my mind afterwards was I got swooped by one of these bloody magpies. But it pulled me up anyway. So then there's a light straight away directly in the center of my face, in my eyes, and everything behind it is like a propeller of an airplane, black and white, like grey and white, spiraling, like reality. Everything was just spiraling, like it wasn't even just like a computer program almost. Like it wasn't even really. It's just it wasn't even really real. And then at that point, I had whole range of things go through my mind. Like even the very first one was bang. I'm sitting right now inside an alien spacecraft, and then it was like the first thing that came to mind then was the moment where maybe I was going to see him was just like I'll be honest with you, I was fear. You know, I was like boom, and then it was boom, and at that point I felt like though I was sitting down. I felt like something like was hard up against my back, and I was sitting on like a solid surface, and like I said, there was a big bright light in my face, and just like spiraling grey and white behind it, and then bang, like just as quick, another big flash of light, and then bang, I'm right in front of the car again, and Donna's just like looking. Donna and my friend are just looking at me with like their jaws hitting the ground, just going like just what just happened, and I was angry because I didn't even. Took me a few moments to evaluate what had happened, and I thought to myself, bloody, what's Donna taking these bloody photos of me for? You know, I don't like I said before, I didn't like I don't like people taking photos of me, and the first after feeling the fear, I suppose I was angry because I didn't know what had just happened, and I was like, what did something weird just happen then? Why am I still back on top of that hill? Why am I in front of the car right now? What just happened? And then I was like, oh, let's get in the car, let's go. And then Don was like, Robert, you look at the camera, what just happened there? And I was like, I don't want to hear that. What are you taking photos of me for? Anyway, I got a little bit angry. I said, get in the car, let's go. And we drove away from there. And Don was like, no, Rob, really, Rob, you've got to look at the camera. Look at what I'm trying to show you. And I looked at it, and she goes, I wasn't in the first photo. And I was like, geez, you know. And then the next one, I'm clearly there. And then we went back and looked at the photos on the computer screen. You could see that I wasn't there. You know, there was no distortion in the photo. I just wasn't there. And there's all these energy things. Yeah, and I've looked into it, and then in the second photo where I'm back, you can see like parts of my hand aren't even put back together yet. Like they look like pixels of light, or I suppose you'd call it. And there's like something going on in my eyes. Yeah, and the craft that is in the top right corner of the photo is one of the craftsmen. I believe we've all believed that it was one of the craftsmen 2 nights before. And and because of that moment when I said it's the bottom of the craft spiraled and it was like just at arm's reach above my face, and it felt like a part of me, if not my spirit or something, happened in the moments, and I did go aboard the craft, and I do have memories of like, but it's not memories. It's like it's not imagination either. It's these memories or these flashes that I have. It's like, but are they from a dream, or do you know what I mean? It's
yes, they're like kind of like lucid dreaming.
Yeah, but from a dream that I've never had.
Right. Robert, can I ask you now, do you think that you experienced some type of space-time distortion. In other words,
Oh,
when you
sure.
when you were out of the camera range, when you disappeared,
Yep.
what seemed like a few moments to
Well,
to
yep.
Donna and
Yep.
your friends.
Well, yeah.
Do you
This is
think that you, in fact, had a much more detailed, more prolonged experience in another
yep.
way of perceiving time?
Yeah, like my ideas, theories, and hypotheses of what happened. Like I get new ones every moment. Like I haven't all. It's constantly. There'll always be something else that it can't be explained by that because of this. Or there's a lot of things that are thrown out of whack. But what I wanted to say was when that craft 2 nights before spiraled me up, I've long thought that I actually went then. These orb things then were then sort of not replaced me, but filled in for me, like played as long as though to everyone else that I was still there because I don't know how these things can control reality the way they do. But then I think at that point, and then 2 nights later they brought me back because if you actually watch because I'm not in the first photo, so taking the photo and then bang, I remember just sort of like being on this craft, all this stuff going on, then bang the second, and then because I only remember one flash, and bang this big flash, and I'm right in front of the car again, and then them 2 days. Remember when I said I was feeling so amazing after what had just happened, and then bang after them being bang flashback in the back of the car, I'd gone back to feeling like a human again. I was like angry, and I was like, I thought to myself, I was going to ascend. Bloody Donna's taken these photos of me and ruined it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't say things like that and think, but that's honestly what I thought. And because I felt human again, and then it was like, then other things took place after that where I would think obviously, well, I don't know, I have like a traded place or something. I'm not sure because, but what I want to go into now will make things a bit more clear for you. So, yeah, so then I've it's on the ground and then taken away, and then so not only did I have the experience of the craft just at arm's reach in my face, I now had photos of me, like you said, leaving this dimension or time or whatever, or something highly just amazingly going on, and it was myself in the photo, and it's like if you want to think about things that make you feel good, like when you're meditating or anything like that, straight away every time, or when I do see anything like that, I just go straight to there and I just go, well, and then I think to myself, well, what did happen and what did I experience? Bang, and then that's when all these other flashes of stuff come in, and it's like, well, do I share these with people, or they're just going to turn around and say that's just in my mind? But then a lot of the times, these things that these insights that I have, 9 times out of 10 will, if I really look into it, or if not through circumstances, they prove to be pretty close. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that I should have more faith in it, and maybe I'm not sure. Sorry, Leslie, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think you should have a lot of faith in your experience. Yep. And we're just going to take a very, very brief pause at the moment here, just to remind our listeners that you are listening to Contact Radio. Yep. This is your host, Leslie Mitchell Clark. I'm joined by our co-host, Wes Roberts. And this is a pre-taped interview, folks, with our dear friend, Robert Mason, ufologist, exopolitician, C5 pod leader, and he's speaking to us now from Perth. This is pre-taped, so unfortunately you cannot call in, but we are now having a very fascinating discussion with Robert Mason about one of his many experiences where he was actually, I don't want to use the term abducted, but he had an experience where he was taken, disappeared for a while, and came back, and all of this is on photographic evidence. So we're going to continue now with Robert Mason for the next 20 minutes or so as he continues to tell us about his experiences. So Robert, tell me a little bit about, you were referring to your relationship with your old mates, with your space brothers and sisters, for lack of a better term. Tell me a little bit about how things have escalated, or since that key seminal experience.
Yep. Well, yep. And so like I said before, a lot of people would take what I say seriously, and I would say had a lot of respect. So I have all this footage and these photos, and people that would want to believe me and want to be able to believe me there, and maybe a little bit of maybe even jealousy got in the way, and like people going, oh, why would this happen to Rob? Blah blah. What's but what's going on here? And then so then with no one really ever really been able to believe it as much as me. It was just become then of this experience between me and the old mates, because I would how do I say it? Like, because it had happened between me and them, and then it was like, yeah, and then I'm trying to think of a better way to say it. I'm sorry. It was basically,
okay.
it was like it was them forging the relationship between ourselves and putting things in place that were just solidifying that, or just concreting that making that so. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, what's that old fairy tale where Cinderella drops her shoe at the ball for the prince to find it and later on find her later on. It's like these things left all these clues for me to, all these puzzles for me just to keep going, looking in deeper and just keep going. And it's actually, my life since this happened is just amazing. It's like every moment it's like I try to explain it. It's like this big massive energy ball or energy thing that's just growing, and it's come out of me and it's come out of the planet, and it's gone now off into the universe, and it's just waiting for like the most delicate little thing just to pop it, but nothing's popped this balloon yet. And it's been going now for 2 years. It's out of control now. It's almost as big as you know what I mean? Like, and that's just it's hard for me to explain that as well, but because I have had
I wanted to comment on something you were saying earlier, and not to interrupt the flow, but
Yeah, sorry, mate.
a couple of things. One would be that the selection process, they select you and you select them, is a two-way street. So I think that's preordained, and there came a moment in time when you were required to remember and act on it. So I think that part's true. And the other thing is that often, at least for me, is that they orchestrate situations. I call them orchestrators or stage setters. So they orchestrate and set up a stage, and you walk up on the stage, and then they see what happens. And I don't know if that's how you felt through any of this or not.
Well, yeah. I've often thought to myself that they already know what's going to happen, or they already not know what's going to happen, but they already the way I see it or think about it is, let's just say you're flying over a big field of flowers, and of like yellow flowers, let's say, and then every now and then you'd see like an amazingly different coloured one, like let's say a purple one. And it was highly strange for the purple ones in there, but out of every hundreds of thousands or whatever, there was like a different coloured one that was different coloured to all the other ones that were just yellow. And then when these things fly over, they can, through energy or through vibration, whatever, they'll see one that people may. I'm not and I don't mean to say that as if so other people can't form relationships with them, but I think maybe people are selected to initiate the relationship that will take place in the future. Do you know what I mean? Make it easier for the people that doesn't come naturally to them, maybe.
Yes. That's exactly it. It's like there's lots of relationships, but most people are unaware of the relationship, not conscious of the relationship.
Yeah.
And then you became conscious of the relationship. This makes you an ambassador.
Yeah.
And because I had all the photos and stuff, and I was showing people, and people were so happy and excited I was getting from it. A lot of, like I said, people would get jealous or like ridicule. This was early on in the piece, would ridicule me about it and stuff like that. So then it really did become down to the point of me inside my mind and all this stuff going on. Like, yeah, these are my old mates, and then I'd go out the front, and like my mum at the start, because the thing that scared her at the start, and she'd be like, Robert, I don't want you talking about this stuff in the house, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, this was within weeks of what had all happened, and I went out there and I said, if you guys want me to, we're going to carry on doing this, I need you to help me get my mum on board. And as I did that, it was thought that said that, I had like multiple craft come from behind the moon, and I was like, Mum! And I said, get out of here now. She's like, what? I said, get out of here now. And she come out the front, and she's seen it. I was like, look at that. And then after that moment, she was like, but I've shown her some amazing craft now, and she's right on board now. She's right into it now. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you think, Robert, that because sometimes these these experiences of contact and sightings sort of run in families.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think that your mother may have had previous experiences as a girl?
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you, because that's just leading me up to my next bit I wanted to go into. So after all this happened, I like looked into spiritual stuff as well, and I found out about like numerology and stuff, and then I found out that myself, I'm a 33-6, but so is my mum, and we have the exact same numerology, like, and then when my brother and sister are both master numbers as well, so we had like, yeah, I think that maybe you're onto something about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I went into, so like I said, because I was looking for answers, and there's no books and stuff. Like, you can go and read some of the UFO books, but a lot of them are like military based, and they're not really written all for like giving to you in a way from like a real person's perspective sort of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not disrespecting anyone, but like an old Air Force pilot or something like that's had these experiences, but you can't sort of relate to that sort of thing. But that's what I hope to be able to do. It's like just the normal people will be able to relate to my story as well. But so then even with sometimes with the help of Donna and some of her friends that she had through the spiritual friends that she had, they started doing things like looking at my birth chart when I was born and stuff like that. And to me, up until this time, I never would have looked at getting any of this stuff done or looked at any of this, and like looking at astrology and star signs, I would like laugh and think, oh, that stuff, back before it happened, I think that stuff's just, it's a silliness, you know? It's a silliness. And then because I had nowhere to go to get answers, and I was just wanted answers, and I wanted to know what was, up until that point, I did believe what I was taught at school. And as soon as what happened with these craft, I just thought to myself, NASA must know that these things exist and all this stuff. And I just felt though, you know, once again lied to and just angry. So I went out looking for truth for myself, and I found myself looking into a lot of spiritual stuff and stuff like that. And then just to have someone do my star chart and know stuff about me written in some book, know stuff about me that how do they know this? It's like knows me better than no one could explain and describe myself. And then then I would look into even more of that stuff, and yeah.
But the two are very aligned anyway, Rob.
Yeah.
Spirituality and contact and communication from extraterrestrials. It's like a no-brainer, right? They're connected.
Yeah, well, that's right, and then at that same time, that's when I come across the Dr. Stephen Greer doing the CE5 things, and I was like, thought to myself, that's Dr. Stephen Greer from the Disclosure Project, and I looked into it, and I was like, wow, and then I thought to myself, because I had been regularly seeing him, and then I'm going to go into some of the amazing experiences and sightings I had in the weeks just building up to the 21st of the 12th, 2012, which was the famous when everyone thought the world was going to end, and because after what happened, I said to a few people, well, a lot of people actually, I said, you watch, I said, there's going to be a comet, and it's going to it's going to hit the planet, but I said the aliens are going to destroy it for us. And then in February 2013, February 15th, in Russia, you'll remember that asteroid.
Yes.
If you actually look into it, it actually does, and I believe that's what actually happens. A UFO flies into it and destroys it. And I had foreseen that, and I had told many people, you know, to this day, I could call them forward and they would be witnesses and say, yeah, Robert did say that like a couple of months before that was going to happen. And then so all these things were happening, and then like becoming extremely psychic, like just I just know things now since this happened. Like do you know when they say they think there might be like a multiversal theory about it?
Yes.
And then you said about me going to other maybe universes in them photos. Well, also another one of my theories is sort of, let's just say, like, you are diluted throughout many dimensions and universes. I feel as like when that craft spiraled over the top of me 2 nights before, it's like I feel as though all of my bits have been pulled into this one reality, and it's do you know what I mean? I was hoping not trying.
I know exactly what you mean. That your energy was scattered. It's because I think forgive me if I'm wrong or speaking out of turn, but it seems to me that your whole life has been on a destination, a schedule, to when you were ready to receive this information and focus on your purpose. And you may have even received some type of upgrade, if you will, some type of step up transformer when you had your encounter. These things are very common. People often, after having encounters, have increased psychic abilities. So I think it's part and parcel of the same thing. And Robert, believe it or not, we only have about 8 minutes left, and I did want to hear all about your book. And of course, we would love to have you come back on maybe in February.
Yeah, sure. I think I said this last time. I didn't get to say what I wanted to say. It's only 8 minutes. Are you serious?
Well, we'll do a part 3. We have one guest we've had on 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be a guy like that.
Yeah. So part 3 will be imminent. But do tell us about your book and the best way for folks to get a hold of you.
That's just set me back a little bit. Yeah. Well, the best way to get hold of me is to find me, obviously, Robert Mason on Facebook. The group that I run, the UFO group, is Yours and Mine Dimension, and then I've got 3 full stops, UFO Reality. Just Yours and Mine Dimension is one I started up a long time ago, and I don't seem to be able to delete it, and it just follows me around. But it's the one that everyone's in, and the one that I'm active with it's Yours and Mine Dimension, 3 full stops, UFO Reality. Or you could go to, I've got a page as well now, but if you add me as a friend on Facebook, I'll always pull people straight into my groups anyway.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you're writing a book, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a release date, or can you say yet?
Yeah. Well, I'll have it completed pretty soon. I should imagine. It's just a lot of just going through and just fixing a few bits up and making a few editing things. I can't believe there's only 8 minutes left. I thought I had a bit more time.
I know. Time flies. Imagine how fun it would be to hang out if we were just, in the same place. We'd probably be up all night talking about this stuff.
Yeah, well, exactly. It'd be brilliant. It'd be brilliant, yeah. Because something pretty one of the major things that happened as well afterwards was my brother, who's bless him, was diagnosed with schizophrenia, but he actually went missing for 5 days, and all this stuff went on. Hopefully I could tell you in the next interview, but he went missing for 5 days, and the SES and police, and no one could find him. Everyone was out looking for him, and the first time I joined the search, I found him straight away, and with multiple witnesses, and I can go into full detail on it. The moon helped me find my brother. The moon showed me exactly where he was, and it was highly. And I would love to tell you that I go into great detail on that in my book. That's one of the big things in my book. And like the Perth SES and police were like, they couldn't believe what I'd done, and then myself as included. I was like, and then so all these things would happen, and just keeps increasing my own belief in myself. If you know what I mean, as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, as well it should. Do you have a title yet for your book? Or are you still thinking about that?
I'm just thinking along the lines of Golden Age Contact, maybe. I'm not sure.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, this Golden Age Contact because I'm not a scientist or a military person or anything like that, and I'm talking about a lot of truths in my books and a lot of the hardship and stuff I went through when I was younger, and even to this day and stuff like that. But everything happens for a reason, and if you just believe and just have faith in yourself and in your and your place in the universe, and have faith in the universe and its plan for you, then you'll be surprised that the worst things will happen, but then straight away, like it will turn into the most beneficial result for yourself. If you know what I mean?
I absolutely agree, and there's help for us. I think our relationship with our extraterrestrial, interdimensional brothers and sisters is very strong and very benevolent. I'm not subscribing to negativity, just like Dr. Freer. We don't subscribe to that.
Yeah.
What we subscribe to is the love vibration, and there's help if you ask for it.
Yeah.
I think yes, I'm not saying that there aren't angels or divine beings, but certainly our own kindred souls are out there and are willing to help, just in the way that they blew up that asteroid.
Yeah, yeah. A few things just come to mind then as well, because to this day, like the craft and everything that I've seen, some highly strange stuff. I have not seen an alien or even a humanoid life form or anything like that. So, in my mind, still to these things can just, until I see that and see that evidence, they could, in my belief system, they could still just be spiritual. But spiritual is, I suppose, is not giving them full credit either. Yeah, just like from an energy or just something that we can't explain. Yeah, sorry.
They might just be, vibrating a little faster than we are.
Yeah.
Their molecules might just be, sped up to the point where they're out of our visual spectrum. I think there's probably good people and good souls and bad souls in every kind of body that you can imagine.
Yeah,
But,
because Leslie, and not once have I felt, oh, I'm one of these, I'm a UFO experiencer, or I've seen this, and then felt sorry for myself or anything like that. If anything, or 100%, it's empowered me every time. It's like I don't feel as though, oh, poor me, I've seen this and now this is going to mess my head. It's like I was chosen to see this, and it's always just it's always polarized it for myself as being beneficial and just being like, who else has? I see my mates worried about other stuff, and it's like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm on this other bigger mission in life, and anyone can really live like that if they wanted to, if they just wanted to believe and stuff like that.
You're absolutely right, Robert.
Yeah.
And we just want to thank you so much for joining us this evening on Contact and sharing your fascinating stories. We can't wait to have you back on. We'll look to booking a date maybe in the early part of February, and continuing on with your wonderful stories. In the meanwhile, keep up all of your fantastic work. I want to thank you on behalf of all of us out here, and bless you, and we look forward to chatting with you again very soon. And Wes, did you want to say a few words?
just to say, you've got this interesting vibration. I don't mind saying that on the air. And I can't wait to meet you in person. I think this is becoming necessary. I just sense that we've got to meet you in person.
Yes,
thanks,
I think that will happen. I can visualize a big UFO convention in Australia, and some of us Canadians making our way over there. So we'll work on that. Anyway, Robert Mason, many, many thanks from all of us here at Contact, and we appreciate everything you do. Keep up your amazing work, and remember, we are not alone.
Thank you.
And good night, Robert.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Good night.
Good night, Robert.
Night.